I was halfway through finalizing a design brief when my phone buzzed across the counter. Mom lit up the screen. I hesitated, then answered. "Hi, Claire," she said, her voice unusually bright, almost giddy. I put my coffee down. "What's going on?" "Oh, just something exciting. Mark and I are flying to Greece tomorrow." I blinked. "Greece?" "Yes, and oh, I almost forgot. We sold the lake house. And your car. We needed the money fast. And really, you weren't using either. Everything's handled. The funds are transferred. We leave tomorrow afternoon. Isn't that amazing?" She laughed, like she hadn't just erased my childhood with a phone call. "Love you, sweetheart. We'll send photos." Click. I stared at my muted laptop screen, its black reflection echoing the same question in my mind. Did that just happen? 29 years old, sitting in a crowded Austin cafe while the world outside crawled on like nothing had changed. But everything had. She said we. She meant her and Mark. Not me. The lake house wasn't just property. It was where Dad taught me to swim, where summers smelled like cedar and charcoal. And the car? A 1971 Mustang, the one Dad and I rebuilt the summer before he died. Not shiny, not new, but ours. Gone. Sold off like forgotten junk in a garage sale. I closed my laptop with care. No tears, no scene. Because I knew this day might come. And I had planned for it. I drained the last of my cold coffee, reached into my tote, and pulled out the other phone, the one with only one contact saved. I dialed. One ring. Claire Morgan, a calm voice answered. "She did it," I said. "She sold the house and the car." A pause. "Understood. Do we proceed?" "Yes." My voice didn't shake. "Then we'll start with the deed transfers. Expect my call in an hour." The line went dead. I slipped the phone back into my bag and felt it, not dread, but something colder, sharper, like steel sliding into place. Around me, life buzzed on, espresso machines hissing, laughter near the window. No one noticed the woman in the corner plotting her next move. No one realized someone had just tried to delete her from her own legacy. But they forgot something. Dad taught me how to stay ready, how to prepare in silence, and how to protect what was mine before anyone else even saw its value. I pulled the envelope from the back of my dresser that night, the one I'd moved twice but never opened, not even peeked. His handwriting was still crisp. "Claire, open this only when you're ready." I was 28 when he gave it to me. We were sitting on the deck of the lake house. He'd poured coffee into a chipped mug and slid the envelope across the table like it meant nothing. "Don't open it," he said, "unless something happens, and only when it's time." I thought he meant a scandal, an illness. I didn't expect him to die in the garage on a quiet Wednesday, replacing my brake pads. That envelope had followed me like a ghost. I thought keeping the house honored his memory. Letting Mom use the Mustang felt polite. But now? Now she'd sold them both like clutter. I opened the envelope. No letter, no explanation. Just 5 documents. The first, a notarized deed transferring the lake house to an LLC 2 years before his death. The second, same for the Mustang. The next 2, rental properties I didn't even know we owned, duplexes in Dallas. The last, formation documents for Morgan Holdings LLC. My name, my address, his signature, his lawyer's seal. All airtight, all legal. I stood there holding proof. Dad had seen it coming. And he didn't trust her. I gathered the papers into a manila folder and dialed Milo. He picked up instantly. "She never had the right," I said, "to sell any of it." "Which means," he replied calmly, "we're not just reacting anymore, we're taking control." Next morning, I met with Grant, He slid the sale documents across the desk, brows tight. Buyer listed as Harper Lane, he muttered, scanning the page, then looked up. Coincidence? I smiled. Just a little. Not even close. Harper, roommate from freshman year? She's in real estate now, I said. After Dad's funeral, I told her I was worried. About manipulation. About losing what was left. If Mom ever tried to sell anything without legal authority, Harper agreed to act as a shadow buyer. Quietly, she'd hold the assets until I was ready to claim them. Grant leaned back, eyes wide. I shrugged. It was part of my contingency. He let out a whistle and tapped the contract. You were planning a counterstrike. No, I said, rising. I was planning for survival. So let me get this straight, Grant said, scanning the paperwork. Your mother tried to sell property she didn't legally own, and the buyer was someone you pre-authorized to safeguard your assets? He looked up, visibly impressed. That means we're not just reversing the sale, we could take her to court. I know, I said calmly. He studied me, brow raised. But you don't want to. I shook my head. No, I don't want to humiliate her. I want her to understand, to feel it, not as punishment, as consequence. Court won't teach her that. It'll just give her something else to blame. A quiet settled between us. Then Grant set the papers down, hands folded. So what's the play? We freeze everything, I said. Undo the transfers. Move all titles back under Morgan Holdings. Lock the LLC. Notify the county. And when she comes back from Europe? I let the answer linger in the air, cool, deliberate. She'll come home to nothing that belongs to her. She'll stand outside the life she tried to take from me. Grant gave a slow, impressed nod. And Harper? She keeps the deed a little longer. When Vivian shows up at the lake house, Harper's the one who says no. I don't want my name on the rejection. Not yet. You really thought this through. 2 years buys a lot of clarity. By noon, the reversal was already underway. By nightfall, every asset was secure. Later that evening, I got the alert. Vivian, poolside in oversized sunglasses. Mark flashing a passport like he just won the lottery. Caption, time for our next chapter. Europe. Here we come. I didn't comment. Didn't like it. Didn't even react. She thought I was still in Austin, licking my wounds. Cornered, stranded, defeated. That's the story she preferred. It probably helped her sleep. So I let her believe it. While they toasted champagne somewhere over the Atlantic, I moved. Grant filed all reversal documents with Travis County. Harper returned the deed in a sealed envelope, just like we planned. I logged into the Morgan Holdings portal and locked everything under legal control. Real estate, vehicle titles, rental income streams. The car was easy. The Mustang's title had never fully transferred. A few clicks, and it was officially back under my name. Mark had left it in long-term parking at Austin Bergstrom. I arranged for pickup, a full detail, and delivery to my garage. The lake house was more delicate. Grant drafted an eviction notice through the LLC. My name wasn't on it. Harper was listed as the acting agent. The letter would arrive 30 days after their scheduled return. Just enough time for Vivian to unpack, take a long breath, and read the notice taped to her front door. I wasn't angry. That surprised me. What I felt was cleaner, colder. Detachment. The kind that comes when you stop expecting people to be who they never were. Dad used to say, some people don't leave, they wait to be forced out. Vivian had always been one of them. I used to imagine she'd come around. That she'd realize family isn't something you spend or steal. But that was before she forged her name over mine. before she chirped into the phone that everything I loved was already gone. They say revenge is best served cold. But this? This wasn't revenge. This was consequence. An education she delivered to herself. The day they landed in Lisbon, I made one last call. Confirmed deliveries. Then I took the Mustang for a long drive past the lake house she thought she still owned, cruising into the Texas evening like nothing had ever been taken from me. She came back 4 weeks early. No call, no warning. Just a knock on my apartment door on a Thursday afternoon. I opened it. Barely recognized her. Hair yanked into a rubber band. Designer bag swollen and warped. Shadows carved deep beneath her eyes. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said my name. Voice thin, cracked at the edges. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside without a word. When she came back, she slid a folded piece of paper onto the counter. Office cleaning, 2 buildings, nights, minimum wage. They said I can start tomorrow. Then you should, I said. That was it. The first week, she came home aching, feet swollen, shoulders tight. I left Epsom salts by the bathroom. She didn't say thank you. Vivian walked into my apartment like she still owned the ground beneath her feet, eyes sweeping the space as if she expected to find some fragment of herself here, even though she'd never stepped foot in this place before. She stopped by the kitchen island, hovering like a guest who wanted to be more than a guest. I didn't ask why she came. I just filled the kettle. We sat in silence until the whistle pierced the air. When I placed a mug in front of her, she wrapped both hands around it, staring into the steam like it might explain how her life had collapsed. "Mark left," she said at last, voice brittle. "In Portugal. Met someone on a boat, 23, French, backpacker." A hollow laugh slipped from her lips. "Said he needed to find himself, took the last of our cash and vanished." I nodded once, not with pity, just acknowledgement. "I tried to book a flight with points," she continued, "but the account was empty. I had to borrow money from a stranger just to call the airline." She hesitated, eyes wet. "And when I landed, I didn't know where else to go. There it was. The truth, stripped of performance." I let the silence stretch until it nearly cracked. Then, gently, "Of course you can stay, just for a little while." She blinked, startled. "Thank you, baby. I know I don't deserve it." I didn't correct her. Didn't tell her she was right. She moved into the guest room. I handed her towels, a key, the Wi-Fi password. She didn't ask what I'd been doing since she left. And I didn't ask what she'd lost. Each evening, she tried cooking versions of my childhood dinners, burnt meatloaf, watery soup. Each morning, she cleaned the kitchen before I woke up. I let her think it meant something. But I also kept notes, quietly. Every charge to my card. Every borrowed call. Every inconsistency in her stories. I wasn't building a case for court. I was building clarity, for me. Because forgiveness without truth isn't forgiveness. It's erasure. And I had spent enough of my life being erased. That night, I opened an old leather notebook, the one I used to carry to client meetings. I flipped to a fresh page and wrote her name at the top. Underneath, the date she returned. She got the job herself. I didn't ask where she went that morning, leaving in a borrowed cardigan. Resume clutched like a lifeline. She began waking before dawn, slipping out before I stirred, like shame had its own alarm clock. It all felt too neat, too performed. But then there were moments that felt unscripted. One afternoon, I found her in the laundry room, scrubbing the cuffs of her work pants by hand, though the washing machine stood idle beside her. No humming, no pretending. Another night, she sat at the kitchen table with a notebook, tracking expenses. calculating hours, piecing a life together from dust. No audience. No narration. I didn't praise her. I didn't save her. That wasn't the point. Meals became simple: lentils, rice, frozen peas. She ate every bite. Sometimes she mentioned applying for a second job, or taking GED classes, or how she once wanted to study interior design before things got complicated. I didn't ask what complicated meant. She didn't explain. We weren't mother and daughter anymore. We were two women, sharing a room, neither with the upper hand. And something shifted when she stopped trying to hold it. She never asked about the lake house. Never mentioned the Mustang. Maybe she assumed they were gone. Maybe she knew better and chose silence. Silence has gravity. It either draws you closer or teaches you to hold your shape without apology. One night, passing her door, I heard her crying. Not loudly. Not for comfort. Just the sound of someone deciding whether they could rebuild a life with bare hands. Weeks later, I found the second envelope, small, forgotten, tucked behind an old photo album in my desk. No label, just my name in Dad's steady handwriting. Inside, a USB drive. A single folded page. His note. If she ever returns, and if she tells the truth, give her the rest, but only if you're ready to see it for yourself. I plugged it in. No videos. No voice. Just files. Ledgers. Spreadsheets. Legal records. The trust was real. Formed 4 years before he died. Hidden under a Wyoming shell company. I was the sole beneficiary. The house, the car, the rentals? Crumbs. There was more. Buried deep, a failed withdrawal attempt. Vivian's name. A forged signature. She'd tried, before the funeral. I printed everything: the trust, the forged claim, a full asset list, all now legally mine. Then I wrote. Not a threat. Not a confession. Just a letter. Not to her, to the truth. I sealed it, set it beside her teacup. We drove in silence. She didn't ask where we were going until the tires crunched down the gravel path. Her breath caught. The lake house still stood. The porch swing swayed gently. The air smelled like cedar and old memories. Inside, she walked like a ghost, pausing by the chipped teapot she once bought at a yard sale. Staring at Dad's photo grinning above the fireplace. I placed the envelope in her lap and left the room. A minute later, the soft rip of paper. Then breath-breaking. Then the sound of someone finally seeing the truth. She didn't deny it. Didn't spin it. She looked at me not as her daughter, but as the ledger she could no longer rewrite. You have a choice, I said. Leave with dignity, or stay. Not as my mother, but as a caretaker. This house will become a retreat. For women who were erased. Vivian nodded, just once. What would you have done? If you were in my shoes, would you have given her another chance, or closed the door for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what this story taught you, about trust, about boundaries, about second chances that aren't handed over, but earned. And if you believe in reclaiming your voice after being silenced, hit that subscribe button. Because none of us should ever feel erased again. Let's keep rebuilding, together.